What's going on, everyone? My name's AB Frank, but just call me Alex in the comments, and welcome to the Bookish Report, where I talk a lot about gaslamp fantasy and gaslamp horror. So that's mainly stuff set in the Victorian era. A little bit of steampunk stuff might be coming, and some sci-fi stuff as well towards sci-fi September, like Frankenstein and War of the Worlds and stuff like that. So if that's something you might be interested in, then consider subscribing. Today I'm going to be doing a review, or a brief review, and a bit of discussion on Edgar Allan Poe's first published story called Metzengerstein, I think. That's probably not how you pronounce it, but it's roughly that. Let me give you a little bit of a synopsis on this book first, this short story I should say. It's a story about two families really that have been feuding for a long time. I forget the name of one of them, and the Metzengerstein family. And we sort of follow this one guy who's like 18 years old, and he's just inherited some stuff. I think he might be the only person left living in this family, which is sort of like the early beginnings of the idea for the fall of the House of Usher, where the last two living descendants in that family, the Usher family, are the two characters who die in that story. So we follow this guy, Frederick Metzengerstein, who is a baron, I think, a young baron, and he starts like misbehaving and doing all sorts of stuff that doesn't get him a good reputation. And then the stables set on fire in this other family's property. Their stable set on fire, so naturally the blame goes to Fred Metzengerstein, because he's been up to no good anyway. He sort of starts to withdraw from society and goes into a bit of isolation, which is one of the several gothic themes that crop up in this book. So he's a bit of a loner. He goes out for a ride in the middle of the night one night, and then comes back to his property being on fire. But when the first fire was set, there's this horse that had never been seen before was sort of saved from the stables. Nobody had seen it, so nobody claimed it, and so it went over to Frederick Metzengerstein, and it had like the initials of Wilhelm something. I forget the last name of it. It's not easy to say. Neither is Metzengerstein, but yeah, it's got his initials like burned or branded into this horse's forehead, and then you sort of think that this horse is the soul of, or is like he's come back to life, or it's like not a real horse, or it's supernatural in some way, because there's a mention of this word which I'll try and find. That is metempsychosis, which I've looked up, and I found it to mean that the soul, or the idea that the soul transfers to another living being upon death. So during the fire, this character died, and in the family that Metzengerstein has been feuding with, he's trying to save some animals, and then this random horse has appeared with his initials etched into its forehead, and doesn't let anyone near it apart from Metzengerstein. He's in separate stables and stuff like that. And then at the end, he gets on this horse, rides into the woods, comes back to his property on fire, and the horse runs him into the fire, killing him. And then there's smoke at the end. The last line says that there was the fire stops and there was just smoke, and it was in the shape of a horse. This smoke that was rising. That's why I think it could be the ghost of this, not the ghost, but there's some sort of supernatural thing going on with Wilhelm from the other family. And I mentioned that there's several gothic themes going on in this story, and there's stuff like buttresses, which is mentioned like on the first page. And a buttress, if you don't know, is something that refers to it's Gothic architecture, and I think Gothic, before it was a genre, did refer to architecture. And so when you get these Gothic archways at the point like here where it bends, and just before it goes down straight in like the doorway, say, they used to collapse. The way they were built, the top stones would like push them out there, and it would collapse. So a buttress is something that like is built against them and pins it in, so it should stay up. If you ever see that word, that's what it means. And there's also stuff in here like there's a prophecy which could have been the inspiration for Bram Stoker in the Chain of Destiny, and it could also we know that Poe inspired Lovecraft, and in one of his earlier stories, The Alchemist, which I'll link to in the basement, which I reviewed the other day, there's the prophecy element in that story as well. These are themes of Gothic literature, and also the family rivalry sort of thing, and isolation, which I touched on already. So these things are cropping up in this story. So apart from like the horse being possibly the soul of this other guy, Wilhelm, who could have had his soul transferred into this horse, or this horse could just be a supernatural thing anyway. There's not really much that I picked up on in this story. It is his first, so like in the Lovecraft videos that I'm making, I've gone right back to the beginning, and so there might be a little light on symbolism and things that are in there. I think somebody in Poe's family might have actually died in a fire, which could be the basis of the fire element in this story. So there's not actually much else that I can add to this story, but it was good. I mean, it was fine. It was what it was. It was fairly basic though. So if you're a seasoned Poe reader, then but you've not read everything by him, then this probably might not be that of much interest. But it's a good enough story, I thought. Easy place to start. Not as easy as The Telltale Heart though, which is where I started, luckily. Or I could have been put off by some of the older style of writing that it is, given it's like 200 years old nearly. But anyway, I'm going to have to end this there because, again, like I said, there's not much to pick up on in this story. But if you like the type of books and short stories I'll be reading and talking about, or if you like this video, then consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.